We're ready, we're rolling with podcast number 12. It's round 4 of 7 for the World Cup cross country last weekend, and 5 of 8 the downhill, so well into the thick of the World Cup racing. Got Ollie Beckingsale, sat to my left-hand side, a cross-country expert and cross-country Olympian. And to my right, I've got Steve Jones. What's your title?
God, I feel a little bit undercooked against you two, I think.
Well, your palmares, Steve.
My palmares. I got a UCI medal, I guess. I guess there's something in it.
That's a good one. I ain't got one of those.
A UCI bronze medal?
You got one of those?
No. Don't have one of those.
There you go, you trumped us.
There you go then. and I had fried egg on toast this morning with smoked salmon. Do you cook your porridge with water or with milk?
Half and half, mate.
Same.
Really?
Half and half.
Crikey.
Anyway, should we get into the race? We need to ask the racers what they do for their breakfast, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a good weekend of racing, super dry. We'll run through it all basically, but there's cross country, short track and full cross country, and downhill to talk about. Lots of exciting things happened over the weekend. Leger, back to Leger for the first time in 17 years racing World Cup. They had the world champs back in 2004. Ollie, were you racing that?
I did, yeah. Yeah, 2004. Mudbath it was, I remember rightly.
Was it?
Yeah, it was really bad for cross country.
It definitely wasn't a mud bath for the downhill.
Downhill it was, yeah, and we all remember, PT.
Yeah,
using that front wheel.
Well, I tell you what, also you might not know, Ollie, about the World Championships 2004 is the Don qualified in 6th place that day.
We've talked about this before, Steve.
I know we've talked about it before. I know you're embarrassed.
He's a dark horse, isn't he?
He is, but I want to point this out, right? Is the Don in 2004 qualified in 6th on a 248.6, 248.9. Cedric Gracia was in 3rd on a 248.6. He was 3/10 off being 3rd place in qualifying.
Wow.
Fair dues, Don.
Well,
fair dues.
I did throw it away in the finals. Not quite as famously as Steve Peat did, but I did it nonetheless.
It's quite funny. I mean, Petey said on his Instagram on the weekend, does anybody remember 2004? I think more of the point is, will anybody ever forget 2004 when he went down in that last corner?
I was stood next to Adele, his wife, when it happened.
Well, there
was a lot of Brits in the crowd. Did you remember they were all sat on top of the building, the ski lift building, and it was just... Well, it was really busy at this race this weekend, but it seemed, almost more busy back in 2004. And there was the crazy, the noise of it when he did actually crash. And obviously Fabien Barel took the win.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about... why the French so good? Well, surely having a crowd like that at a race proves how totally into racing the French are.
Well, I know you talked about it last week's podcast about the French, but to me, if you look at cross country as well as downhill, you've got the Swiss and you've got the French. Mm-hmm. Funny enough, those places both have mountains. And they're winning mountain bike races.
Well, you say that. No, see, I was looking at the short course, and there's quite a few Dutch people.
You always say that.
What?
You say that when you don't agree with what I've just said. Go on.
No, I'm saying, look, you look at the results from the short course on the weekend, and there's quite a few Dutch in the top 10 there.
Yeah, that's more like a crit, though, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just saying.
But they do have they've always had that strength in depth. I think other countries you get 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then... rather than the Brits in downhill, but Swiss and French, especially it's just strength in depth. 10 of,
You say mountains, right? You got the Italians as well. Why are there not more Italians or Germans?
Too busy making good coffee, I suppose. The French don't have to worry about that.
Right.
I don't know. I don't see how you can really apply these generalisations, to be honest, because we've talked about it in the past about South Africa's great record, and that is just one person. That's Greg Minnaar at World Cup downhill. So there's just great riders.
Or one great rider.
Oh, one great rider.
Yeah. But is it, I want to ask you, Ollie, I mean, I've never chatted to you about cross-country. Is it, it's not very strong in the English-speaking countries, but although you do see like Kate Courtney and...
Yeah, US has only come around recently. They've had a flat patch for a long time.
Right. So is that coincided with, likes of Gwyn and all the other downhill races from America, which has happened in the last 6-7 years,
I think cross-country gets hit. It goes in phases with, especially America and Great Britain with road.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, everyone was racing cross-country, or then when downhill when it split, because that's what was cool for kids. You got a mountain bike, 89, 90. Yeah. And then there was a point 2008, 2012, when everyone wanted to be on the velodrome, be Chris Hoy or Wigan.
Right, yeah.
So it split the two. I think if you were more of a kind of keener fitness kid, you would probably go road or track. And if you were more wanted to play in the woods, you would have gone downhill. So it kind of cross country got a bit.
Yeah, because I saw you talking to Simon Richardson, presented on GCN. I guess he made that switch from cross country to road around about that time.
Sci Race 2004 World Champs as well.
He was
as a junior.
Yeah. He was under 23. He was So me and Si did mountain bike together for a long time. He's younger than me.
Right.
He probably looks it as well. But yeah, we did mountain bike together, and then he split over to the road. And he was one of the guys that made that transition.
Yeah.
Because of the timing. That's where your contracts were, that's where the interest is.
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to get a mountain bike contract, but could get one on the road.
Right. And you go back further than that. Like a minute ago, we were talking about the Czech guy who had a heart thing.
Yeah. Andre Sink.
Yeah, and I don't know why I got this connection between him and David Baker. You're talking about David Baker and Tim Gould. Britain was a very, very strong country.
When I started, there was... So when I went first year, I went full-time, which is 98.
Yeah.
There was 12 pros in the UK. And Raleigh, for example, had a big team.
Yeah.
They had 5 full-time cross-country professionals on one team.
Wow.
Which is, unheard of. And now you've got 1, 2, 3, maybe.
And that's 98. If you think of how many pro downhillers were in the UK in 1998.
98? Oh.
Not that many, right?
No,
you probably had P.T. Warner...
Will Longdon.
Like, we're really up there, making money out of it. But after that... They're pretty much like sponsorship deals, right?
I think Dan Lloyd actually rode for that rally team as well on a mountain bike.
They had a full pro team, then an academy team. I mean, nuts.
Yeah.
Probably 10 people that were getting some sort of support officially off rally back then. Yeah. But nothing on downhill. And then, like I say, I think it just follows you got what's cool for the kids, and then there's like a lag between that and then people doing it seriously or racing. It takes them a while for them to obviously come through, but it was cross country back then, was mental, and and then it died off a little bit, and now at the moment it's pretty flat, really.
I was waiting for my chair squeak, and I'm trying not to move my chair. You can hear my chair.
Right, let's get into the racing. I've not seen all of it, to be honest. I've been away myself in British Columbia racing a little bit, but I did see the short track. Actually, it was a good race.
Yeah, super fun. I mean, the courses in Leger, and it was more of a physical course, less technical than some of the others. Kind of medium altitude as well, not like Andorra previously.
It's definitely not as high.
1,200 metres, but it's enough when you're working really hard. I think you still get a bit of an effect.
There's a lot of dust. What that looked to me like that could have been quite difficult. If you're a bit further back in the pack, it can't be much fun breathing hard through that stuff.
I think just all the conditions were a bit hard. So hard steep climbs and a bit of dust and a bit of altitude and a bit of heat are all 4 things that if you're having a bad day, they're going to really get to you. All of them you can overcome when you're on it. Yeah. But if you're having a bit of a bad patch, one of those will really
Annie Lass, she showed really strongly in the sort of early stages of the race.
Really strong in the short. She's having a great short track season. Transferring that to cross country, she's had some great results.
Yeah, I think she was off.
She struggled a little bit and a bit of illness maybe.
Yeah.
But short track, she's flying.
She finished 6th in the end, but Kate Courtney, again, going away and showing everyone who's boss this year.
Yeah, I mean, she was gone,
After a relatively not so great weekend in Andorra, maybe we do just put that down to altitude. She's sort of bounced back. And...
Yeah, I think she went back home.
Really?
Yeah, back to America in that patch between, which is a kind of call a lot of them need to make.
Yeah.
And when they come back, obviously, they've just got a bit of jet lag and they don't sleep, so they normally get a week when they're not great and then come round. But I think it's hard for the stateside guys to decide whether to stay the whole season or go back in patches.
Yeah.
Ollie, just want to ask you a question. Is there an optimum age for like short course or cross country? Is there? I mean, I'm looking at the women's results. Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of 30-somethings in the top 20.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's an endurance sport, but the whole with the short track racing, cross country has come back a lot. I saw a really good. It was a social media thing from Bart Brenshans, who's obviously commentating on Red Bull, and it was something about the last Dutch winner or something of a race, and from last week when they won the women's.
Yeah.
And that was 2004, which was him. So he won in 1994, sorry. And his winning time for a cross-country race was 2.5 hours.
Right.
And now they're racing for 1 hour and 20.
Right.
So it's a faster, more dynamic sport, probably suits younger guys, less diesel engine.
Well, Kate Courtney and Vanderpool are both 24, so...
Yeah, so I think it's probably evened out. I think go back in time, and it was probably 28, 30.
Right, and now he's younger.
Yeah, I had my best years, I was 28, 29.
Right,
okay. And then I think that was quite common. And now it suits a younger person, a bit more recovery, a bit more dynamic maybe.
Yeah.
Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, and a good ride for her. She seems to be definitely getting back on the form. She came second in the short track. Brandau, third. Yolanda Neff, fourth. No real surprises in the short track for the women's, I suppose. Emily Batty still down 14th.
Coming back a little bit, but yes. They had this cross country had a break, and it gave a chance for people to either. It's a really tough one if you've had a not great first couple of rounds.
Yeah.
Do you sat there, right? You got a chunk of time to sort it out, but do you train harder? Do you rest? Do you do more miles? Do you more intensity? It's quite a hard one to work out if you've just been a bit out of sorts. So.
And Jenny Risved's still not got enough points to get to start a short track race.
Yeah, so it's UCI points that get you into the short track.
So she came fifth in the cross country last weekend. Yeah. Great comeback from Jenny Risved, but still, is that going to affect her Sunday race if she can't even get in the first three rows?
Grid position is essential, and if you're out of that top 30, 40 on the grid, you're going to get you're going to lose a bit of time on the first lap just in traffic, but B, you have to make some really hard short efforts to get past people. And that has to come back at you. There's no way. So if you've got a bad grid position or you get a bad start, it without a doubt will affect your race.
I saw it actually in the men's cross-country race on Instagram. I don't know how many riders are wearing it, but a big chunk and about halfway through, someone had some problems. There was a bit of a pile-up. And if you're behind that, you're losing a minute on the first lap almost.
You may as well go home.
Oh, imagine that.
You're done.
Can I go off subject a second? Talking about grid position. I mean, obviously there was the famous race on the weekend, the Mega Avalanche. Yeah. And that is crucial that you have a good grid position. Otherwise, you'd be in a traffic jam for an hour and a half.
I raced that back in the day as well. And I was second row and was lucky to get a clear space. And the year I did it, there was lots of snow, so you could bomb down it, or I thought so at least. You were bombing, and then I spoke to a friend who was, 2 rows behind me, who said it was unrideable.
Yeah.
As soon as someone's ridden it, the whole width of it is almost unrideable.
Yeah. Now you've been in the BC bike race last week as well. What's the format of that then? Is that
that's 7-day cross country stage race, which was brilliant. My original plan was to do the whole thing, but I just couldn't get my fitness turned around in time after injury.
Maybe you're not the optimum age anymore, Don.
Well, probably not actually. Felix Berkey won it. He beat Jeff Kabush, Jeff Kabush is probably my age.
Oh, there you go then. Bit of inspiration, Don.
Yeah, it was. I definitely would say it was inspiring.
Yeah.
It's a great race. I'm going back for sure to do it.
Yeah.
It's tough. It was 4 hours a day I rode, and that was day 5 of 7.
Right.
So.
But you were talking about grid position. I think I looked at some footage you showed me earlier. And there seems to be a bit of a traffic jam of people in the woods.
Yeah.
On a very narrow track in the woods there.
Well, you do like a prologue the first day that's really short, I think. So and that determines your grid position. And there was 600 riders there, so six rows of 100. And I was really lucky that they let me do the race, so the organisers. So I sort of jumped in the middle.
Why they? I mean, you're the Don. Why wouldn't they let you?
I jumped in somewhere around 300 and got up to 150th, obviously racing against people with day 5 of tired legs. So you can't really say I was racing. But once you're in the single track, I did get stuck a bit behind people, but then people would overtake me on the climbs on the fire road. Yeah. But those top riders are going flat out. I've seen some of their videos, and the day I rode 4 hours. They rode 2 hours 50. The guys who won that race, and they've ridden 250 kilometres by the time they've got to that day, and a lot of meters. Yeah, it's really impressive, and they're all riding trail bikes virtually, like beefy cross country bikes.
Right. Hey, talking about gridlock on trails and stuff. There's none of that at World Cup cross country racing, is there? I see that 52 people in the men's race got lapped.
Yeah,
that's mental.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
I mean, how can there's an entry of 61, right? Yeah. And 52 of them got lapped. Yeah. That must be the difference in between the high level and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, so they use in cross country. They have a 90% rule.
Yeah.
So you'll start off, and if you come round, you're 90% behind of the first lap. You just get yanked off the course, so you don't get in the way.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's demoralising as well. So, some people. So you get some of the early races. So at the start of the year, everyone's keen and fancies their chances. So you go to like the Czech Republic or something, which is loads of Nové Mesto, loads of single track. 150 guys start the race. Yeah. And most of them will lose half a lap in time on the first lap.
Because of the traffic jams?
Because of the traffic jams,
wow, right.
So then they're almost, they're doing 3 laps and then getting pulled out of 7 maybe.
God, that's a long way to go to get
long
pulled.
Long way, and pretty depressing. So, but whereas the old days you said before about, doing 2.5 hour races, we used to do, 6, laps of 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So you never had that. You could always go and finish a race, and it was always less single track, so you could move up.
Yeah.
The modern mountain bike now, you are, unless you've got a really good grid,
Yeah.
you're better off going and racing series races, domestic stuff like a Swiss Cup, building your points up and then coming back. But if you start 100th in a World Cup,
or indeed going on a holiday like the Don to British Columbia,
and then just starting mid-pack on day 5.
The Don, I just come in, slot you in there, no problem.
I once got overtaken in a cyclocross race actually by Liam Killeen. I tried to do a season of it just to get fit, really. And he lapped me after a few laps and was riding past me. I was absolutely blowing, as you can imagine. He rode past me. All right, Neil, how's it going? Didn't expect to see you here. And I think he lapped up to 3rd place that day.
Yeah.
So
how's it looking on the World Cup series then? Who's gonna take it this year?
Well, Van der Poel showed up. Obviously, he missed the last round. And he won the short track. He sort of went away from everyone, didn't he? But didn't have such a good day in the cross country. But I see he's still doing pretty well in the overall, to be fair, even though he's...
Yeah, I mean, you've got a good fight. Shooter, obviously, is back on form, and he's kind of quoted that he's on form. So that, we all go, well, is he lost it? Was he having a bad patch? He actually now says, I'm back on, which means he was off. Not really firing. So he's back now.
Am I allowed
won last week.
Yeah. Am I allowed to bring up Shooter? Shooter? Is his name Shooter or Shooter?
Shooter.
Am I allowed to bring up Shooter? Because you're going to go and see him this week, right?
Yeah, so...
Are we allowed to talk about that?
I don't see why not. Should it go to plan? Myself and Blake are going out to Switzerland this Thursday to do a training session with Nino, which includes a circuit session in the gym in the morning.
You're going to get smashed.
For an hour and a half. You may have seen his videos.
I have,
Where his, what's it called, cognitive recovery is standing on a ball juggling in between sets in the circuits. And then we're having lunch at exactly 12 p.m, apparently. Right. And then we're going for...
And how do you foresee the lunch going? Is that
I don't think I'm going to eat anything. And then at 2 o'clock, I think it is, we're doing intervals on cross-country bikes. So that'll be fun. Hopefully you'll be able to see exactly the distance difference.
So you're going to measure all the power outputs and stuff like that?
That's the plan, yeah.
And the watts and everything?
So we're doing it with Garmin, so we'll see all the data.
Right.
In fact, Nino, in the past, we've shot with him a couple of years ago where Mark Beaumont raced him, and I've still got the GoPro and all his data, his heart rate, his power for a flying lap at Lenzerheide. He's been really surprisingly sort of open for someone that of their stature at World Cup, just giving us all that data.
Yeah.
In fact, it's up on my Strava, so I've got a few KOMs around the Lenzerheide cross-country course.
Ollie, sorry to be a bit of a novice on cross-country. So what kind of watts are we talking from a cross-country racer for an hour and a half then?
So on the climb, hour and a half. I mean, mountain bike's funny because you've got the zeros, the effort you're still trying downhill, so it doesn't look that impressive.
Right.
It's more a case of, so you take when you're looking at wattage files, they have a normalised power, they take the zeros out.
Right.
So that's a better way of looking at mountain bike. And they'll be up there doing 400 watts for the pedalling bits, constant. Right. But it's just going up there, surges, those little... Yeah. I mean, the short track stuff, they're probably doing 600-700 repeatedly.
Right. Okay, yeah.
And that's what Van der Poel seems to be.
Yeah, and no recovery on the descent. It's funny when you look at a power file, we're not getting too boring for a mountain bike session, it doesn't look that bad because you've got all the descending.
Yeah.
But it's not like on a road bike where you recover, you are flat out.
Exactly,
so
and you still have
you
that
see a
workout.
heart rate trace for a mountain bike, and it's flat. It's pretty much flat out for the whole thing. The power files obviously go up and down all over the place, but the peaks of troughs.
What about Andre Singh's? What do you reckon that looks like?
Yeah, pretty rapid. But that Leger thing, that first climb, was in the cross country as well.
Yeah.
Rock hard, super steep,
brutal.
Then a false flat. Then the downhills weren't that tech, so there's no recovery all the way down, and then it's just straight. They would have been no recovery really. It would have felt like.
So in the women's, Kate Courtney, you can't say she's got it wrapped up. It's too early for that, but she's looking very strong for the overall this year. Yolanda Neff was second, Elizabeth Brandau third, Sana Frey fourth. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot fifth, and
good.
Jenny Risved's ninth.
Obviously, it was quite a real mix-up in the race. Courtney went obviously on lap 2 or 3, I think, went another level. Risved was up there for a bit, had a good patch, actually hit the front for a section, which is amazing to get from way back on the grid up near the front, but then probably the effects of that came back at her a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Neff had a bad start, was struggling a little bit.
Worked her way back
And then, when we fair play to her, because she was going south at quite a rate, really.
Right,
And then came back round and fought back to second, which just shows how tough she is. A lot of people would have fallen. I
Yeah,
think.
so definitely super strong still. Worth mentioning as well, Hayley Smith in 6th place, Canadian.
Yeah.
It's got to be the highest result for Canadian for a while, I think.
Yeah, they're coming round.
In the men's, Nino, again, 2 wins back-to-back now. So, like you say, his season seems to be back on track after a fairly slow start.
And last week, obviously, it was Fluckinger that gave him a bit of a hard time. It was a sprint, and this time it was Kurt Bauer. So, it was someone different to contend with. But, you managed to win, 2 in the bounce, which is, his overall looking stronger.
Henrik Amassini 3rd, Tempier 4th, Andre Sink. Good return from his sort of almost pulling out the race and finishing 10th, Andorra to finish 5th.
And again, another Canadian 6th place.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about this guy, Peter Zera, but that was, some ride. He was just drifting off the back of that bunch. It's a name I don't know, so I'm need to...
Mattis Flucker down in 9th. Not so good for his overall, but what we're looking at now, we're still looking... So Nino's winning with 1,160. Avancini not so far behind, 915. Then Vanderpool 3rd, even though he's not started one race. Fluckinger down in 4th. Saru, young Frenchman, in 5th place. Women's Kate Courtney, 1,265. Ovi Landenefs, 1090. Terpstra 3rd, Brando 4th, Sonifrey 5th. But definitely looking like Kate Courtney's to lose almost. But still 3 rounds to go.
Yeah, and it was a Scott. Scott won both races on the weekend as well, so that whole team is.
We were talking last week actually about how different teams focus on different disciplines, and Canyon is probably one of the team that's got one of the brands that's got strong athletes in every single category, and in enduro, in downhill, and also in cross country as well,
and road too.
And road.
Yeah, so Vanderpool signed for 4 years with Canyon. Right. There's been some rumours. I can't remember the name of the road team about their sort of...
Katusha.
Yeah, so their ongoing finances, because I expect Vanderpool is not a cheap person to employ.
No, he's taken a lot.
Yeah.
but you can do everything, so you only need one budget.
Oh yeah, good on him, yeah. It's good to see. Yeah, on to downhill. So it took place...
Downhill.
Saturday in between the short track and the cross country on the Sunday.
Yeah. It was absolutely one of the best downhill races I've ever seen on TV. It was, and to me, if you want to look at like a model for downhill racing, it had, it was basically taped off and you had off camber corners. There was no berms. There was no digger or whacker plate in sight. It was a totally natural, descent off that mountain, right? And I think it made for amazing TV.
And what's funny is I rode much of that track, however long ago, 15 years ago.
Ollie, a minute ago, he was telling me not to bring up 2004 World Championships. Yeah, here he is bringing it up yet again.
Was he sick or something? Is that about right?
But what I think is to show that I don't want to be that guy who says, back in my day. But actually, all the tracks used to be a bit like that. You go to a big alpine mountain and they tape it 40 foot wide and you'd sort of have to work it out. And it wouldn't look technical until you rode it. And it wouldn't look that fun until you rode it. And it was really good. And there was loads of those sections. Like, I remember my line on that, but it's still exactly the same now.
Yeah, and obviously different bikes back then, but the speed of the top section was absolutely insane. Like Amir Piron's run, you should watch it on his GoPro. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I watched it just from the cameras, obviously, and he's drifting and leaning the bike over, and it looks brilliant.
Yeah.
It's definitely an exciting race to watch.
It reminded me, they were going across those fields. Again, it's off camber, foot out, drifting.
You thinking
it looked old school? It looked like it'd gone back 20 years.
But it was exciting, though,
in
right?
a skin suit.
Yeah, back in the day, it used to rain quite a lot, and you'd have to ride down that in 6 inches of mud. That made it pretty exciting.
But I said to the wife, though, there's going to be some amazing images from that race because you had dust, which is going to be backlit. You're going to have the riders leaning into those corners, foot off.
Yeah,
it's just going to look. Honestly, there's going to be some great images from that event.
I'm sure we'll see it. And it's fast. So 550 metres of descent, and the winning time is under 3 minutes. I think it's 2.5 kilometres, something like that. So.
But, French racing, Don, the first time we went to Ligier in 1996. That was won by Nico Voulios. But there's been some great races in that venue. I mean, if you look back in 1996, Christian Taillefer won actually in 96. Sorry, 97. I mean, actually, I'm going to glasses on here.
See class on.
Oh my God!
That's before
Sorry,
my time.
1998. A Frenchman, Christian Taillefer, won the race, and there was actually 4 French on the podium.
Go on.
It was Taillefer, it was Engstrom, Del Dique, Pascal, and Langnier, who is
Engstrom, Swedish.
Yeah, but I said 4 of the podium were
okay.
French. Concentrate, Tom. And then, of course, 1999, Petey won. Again, 3 French on the podium: Gracia, Voulios, and Guillaume Koch. Remember him?
Oh, God, vaguely.
Yeah.
I did my first ever World Cup at Leger in 2000, and I snapped my chain out of the gate in qualifying.
There's me thinking it was a place of good memories for you. Talking about, probably one of the most famous results in Leger was 2002 when Petey wrapped up the series. Now, bit of background to that was the previous week there was the World Championships in Capron, which he lost. He famously lost.
To Nico.
And then, of course, everyone drives across the Alps back to Leger, and Petey has to win this race, take the series, and he won it. I think he won it from Burrell and Voulios. And then, of course, what happened in 2002 Leger, didn't it? At the end of the race.
2002?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure everyone got drunk.
We shouldn't really talk about that, should we? Leger has become notorious for.
Well, I hope everything's gone smooth this weekend because we want to keep hold of this place. Now we've got it back.
Yeah, it was pretty much. What's that Clint Eastwood film, Tom? Paint the town red. Do you know when the town was painted red? Well, Leger definitely was painted red in 2002 and 2004, wasn't it?
Yes.
However, what I was going to say was in 2002, Nico Voulios retired at that race.
Yeah.
Wow.
After what, 10 years of
Being on
domination?
the top, yeah.
Sad times. Who we missed talking about the race, actually.
I want to talk about the history of
of
French races.
Oh, go on.
You were saying before,
You're in the
when you were
flow.
saying about the French being so good and then the Swiss in cross country.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big thing about when you've got a group of guys and they're all scrapping it out, and it's like British downhill as well.
Yeah.
When, for example, I know a big thing for British, it's so hard to even get to the Worlds.
Yeah.
So there's so many good guys getting to a world spot, even though they're all capable of doing really well in the race.
Yeah.
They have to scrap all year for that. And I think that's what happens in French downhill or Swiss cross country. And once you get that fighting, you get a good group of guys, they all go up a level.
Well, I remember, I think it actually was 2004, Don. There was a bit of a scrap going on in the British camp because certain guys, and I won't mention their names, were selected and other guys were not selected.
Talking about me?
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about, actually talking about Mark, who was a colleague with you here on GMBN.
Mark Beaumont. He did well.
But he wasn't selected in 2004, was he?
He was, because he was the only one who did well in the end.
Or was it the following year then?
I remember
10,
one year
12.
he won a final race, but not selected for the Worlds or something crazy.
So
that's amazing. You've got all these guys scrapping and so.
But you're right, yeah. Everyone's fighting.
Yeah.
You can't get a place in that British team.
You had to get a top 10 at a World Cup. And in the end, I think there was probably 5 people. I think maybe they did take 5 back in the day, but it was definitely not easy. And I missed out on a lot of world champs where you look at the people that were racing for other countries and you'd smoke them week in, week out, but you couldn't get there because there were too many good Brits.
Yeah.
But I think that leads to everyone's game going up in the same way that French downhill does or cross country.
I was going to say, but Leger and the Brits do seem to have an affinity, and actually any French downhill race, the Brits generally seem to do pretty well. I'm looking at Lords in 2015. There was 3 Brits on the podium. But the previous year at Maribel, there were also 3 Brits at the podium of a French race. Matt Simmons, who actually nearly won it, didn't he?
He qualified fastest.
A couple of tenths off winning that race.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I was joking about Brendan Fairclough in the days leading up to Leger race. I could sense I knew something was going to happen at Leger with a British rider, and it was Brendan. He was in the hot seat for absolutely ages. I think it came down to Laurie Greenland to take him off the hot seat.
So he finished 6th. He had a new bike. Do you think that's new bike giddiness or happiness or just loving the track?
Giddiness and happiness and Brendan. I mean, that's a constant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just on that race.
Oh, that's his best result for a while and great to see.
I've got to say, I think it has a lot to do with the track. Like Steve says,
Track, yeah.
the French don't really care about fixing the track that much. And so we probably had a really rough track this weekend by the time it came to racing. And then that's really where Brendog lies. It's those really hard changing tracks. That's where he does really well.
Yeah. I don't think it was anything. I mean, he was on flat pedals, right?
Yeah.
And people might say it's to do with flat pedals. It had nothing to do with flat pedals. I think Brennan just had a banger of a day, and he knows how to ride that shit.
Definitely.
It's good to see, though. Really good to see. I mean, his last podium was 9 years ago at. Consult my notes.
Where's your green book?
Where's his last podium? Podium was Chompery. Chompery and Maribor in 2010 on Specialised.
Whoa, that was a while ago, isn't it?
But another gnarly one, though, isn't it?
Huh?
Another natural gnarly course, yeah.
Well, Valdesol in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Same sort of, following the same, type of thing. But before we even got to the race, Rachel Aston snapped her Achilles, which is a difficult one. You do hear about people really suffering to come back from those.
That's a proper one, yeah.
We're hoping, obviously, she'll have some time off, but we hope to see her again at some point. Who knows when?
Surgery or
I think
stick a
she
boot
is.
on it and cross your fingers?
I think we're waiting to find out.
Cruel, isn't it?
It's early days.
I mean, this could have been the year that she equalled Anne Caroline's record of 41 World Cup wins, couldn't it?
Yeah, do you think we'll see it before the end of the season? It's too early to say, I suppose, but it seems unlikely to me.
I tell you who else we missed on the weekend was at Val Nord, the guy in jeans came 14th. Where was he?
I don't know. I'll find out.
The guy in jeans. Missed this one. He didn't get on my radar.
So basically,
In a short track or down.
So basically, a guy in a pair of jeans came 14th at Val Nord. He was actually in the top 10 for quite a long time, but he seems to have disappeared off the radar in 1 week.
Hang on, I can't find him.
Exactly,
What's his
he's not
name?
there.
Von Klessenberg or something
Von
like that.
Klessenberg,
Maybe he was
Johannes von Klessenberg.
too busy
They needed
working
him back
in
at the restaurant.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's in the cafe this weekend. Bummer.
Tracy Hannah won though, Don.
She did.
Tracy Hannah won.
A slightly sad-looking women's field. I know it's a bit harsh, but we're missing Tani, Miriam Nicole, and Rachel. It's a shame.
That's a massive dent, isn't it?
And you've got to say, Valley Hall took the fastest time for the females over the weekend. So winning the junior race.
Yeah.
It's been coming for a while, but there it is. There's the fastest time of all of them. Went to Valley Hall.
Yeah, and we're talking about the French strength and depth at the minute. You've also got Thibaut Deprella, who won the junior men's.
So the French have won, between him and the other guy, they've won all the junior downhills. And I was looking at this because I was listening to your podcast last weekend and I started looking at the enduro results, and the French are looking pretty good there as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think half the top 10. But look, what about the men though? I mean, Laura Greenland. I mean, you know Laura Greenland pretty well.
Yeah, he's
Ollie,
Bristol boy. Yeah,
Bristol boy.
And he trains.
Yeah, so my business partner, BW Cycling, does the gym side with Laura. He's done it for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I think they were, first couple of races, he did okay, but he wasn't getting the most out of it. And I think that building that stress.
It was only okay though, wasn't it?
Okay, I think for a guy who's now got those high expectations.
Well, you look back to 2016 when he was second in Val d'Isole, I think he was, at the last World Cup. Yeah, some really strong results.
World champs?
Sorry, world champs, yeah. And he's hit a 9th this year, but it's good to see that. That'll do it'd be interesting to see how his confidence goes from here.
He'd be up. He must be with the downhill guys. It's the margins are so tight.
Yeah,
that a lot of that confidence is a big deal.
And I want to talk about confidence, Don, because the beginning of the year we talked about Matt Walker, and you were talking about Matt Walker. I was talking about Aaron Gwynn, and where are they now? Kind of not very anybody to be seen, to be
top
honest.
10-ish. I don't know what he did this weekend, actually, to be fair.
Matt seems to have gone the wrong direction since Fort William.
Finn Isles.
Well, he fell off.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. That doesn't get you anywhere, does it? Who else? There's someone else I want to talk about.
Michael Jones fell off.
He was going really well.
Yeah, I thought this is going to definitely be a top 10 for Mike Jones.
He's a really fast rider.
Michael Jones has podiumed before. I mean, lots of British riders have podiumed in the past, but I think he's a guy that definitely needs to get it back together, doesn't he?
David Trummer, 8th place for the Austrian YT rider, looking really good.
Yeah.
So the overalls for the downhill, Bruni is beating Amory Pirion by almost 100 points. Then it's Troy Brosnan. Well, actually, he's on the same points as Pirion.
Yeah, 855.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Although Pirion's in the leagues, he's got more wins.
Is it 855?
Yep. Well done. Vergier 4th, Danny Hart 5th. Looking strong. But Bruni, looking really good. And Tracy Hanna got a good lead in the women's now, 1,040 points to Marine Cabarrou, 840. Then there's Rach, third with the DNS, and we're going to see a couple more of those at least. So,
Ollie, what about clothing? Surely of all the tracks, can I rattle on about clothing?
yeah, go on.
Surely of all the tracks, that is the track to wear the tightest possible clothing. Big, wide open, high speed. Because I mean, I've been in the wind tunnel of a track in the past, and there's a certain speed where the clothing does come into the mix.
Yeah, 40k an hour, it goes through the roof. I think.
So I mean, for a huge part of that track, they must have been going 40 kilometers an hour, right?
Yeah.
Well, you see it. You look at some of the pictures earlier, actually, of the guy racing on a Commensal, and the trousers are so tight. You can see the bulges in the knee pads, so they're obviously taking it into pretty serious
Yeah, it's a funny. Like I remember the year when from a cross country side, we've always kind of just gone this performance orientated.
Yeah.
And whatever's the fastest goes.
Yeah.
And then there was a year, obviously, when people started wearing skin suits, and everyone sat down. Well, you all know more about this. But from a cross country side, we went, oh, right, they're doing what makes sense. And then it was like, whoa, but this doesn't look too cool. This is not good. And obviously, so they all went, well, we're all going to ban it now.
Yeah.
Because we'd rather, it was a kind of a gentleman's agreement or an official agreement. It wasn't great for the sport.
Yeah.
But then there was that bit of cheating where everyone's got their sewing machines out in the winter, haven't they? Just taking an inch out. But, oh, no, I'm not wearing a skin suit. But wearing a skin suit.
It's a daft rule. You have to have 2 inches of, like, pinchable stuff. I don't know how it's exactly worded, but basically your jersey has to have a couple of inches bagginess to it.
Right, okay.
And I bet there's some people don't have 2 inches in their jerseys.
1.5 inches. Just
Who's
pushing the
checking?
marginal gains.
But you look at the bloody road racing, they check sock height, don't they?
That's a new
And
one.
What?
It's ridiculous.
Get out of here. No, they don't.
They do.
No.
Yeah, people have started using aero socks, like really long socks with trips in, and trying to make them. It's all. So they're now got to be a certain height, which is a bit of a laughing stock at the tour at the moment.
Crikey.
But you got to be at that speed.
And then
aero is
and then you
big
got
deal.
like Bruni, who wears like a mix of tights and shorts. Does he?
No, they're trousers.
But they look like tights and shorts.
There was a picture of Greg Williamson racing with tights underneath his pads, and I think that was down to be an aero. I don't know how that is more aero than shaving your legs, but there you go. Interesting times.
Do you shave your legs, Don?
Sometimes.
Ollie, do you shave your legs?
Only when I'm trying hard, which is about once a year. But I'm still stuck. If I look down and I'm breathing out my backside and I see a hairy leg, it kind of cracks me a bit. So then about a day before I trim them all off.
Tom, have you ever shaved your legs?
Never shave my legs, no. Steve, have you ever shaved?
I have once.
Is that when you got your UCI medal?
No, just to cut my legs off. Wow. Anyway, be good to see Brendan doing well again this weekend. Val di Sole.
Well, 2 weeks.
What?
Val di Sole.
Val di Sole. What a place.
4th of August.
What a place.
Yep, we've got cross country and downhill there. It's kicking off again.
Yeah.
It's a good venue, that one. Always good racing and nice spot, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Don.
The podcast
Cheers, mate.
again.
Yeah. Nice one. See you in Val di Sole.
Yeah.
Sol.